here, everybody. It's great to see you. It's great to be with a very packed room. I'm sorry we kept you all very busy over the holiday break. And I know there is a lot of news out there today, both here at home and around the world. I will be happy to take all of your questions on all of that news. But first, I'm really honored to be standing up here today with esteemed members of the president's cabinet and his health team to make an important announcement with respect to the president's domestic promise to make America healthy again as we kick off the new year. In less than a year in office, the president and his incredible MAHA team have made real progress on this front. Here are just a few of the significant MAHA achievements thus far. More than a dozen food manufacturers and trade associations have made commitments to remove artificial and petroleum-based food dyes from their products. The Trump administration took strong action to bar hospitals from performing dangerous, irreversible, life-altering transgender procedures on children. The Trump administration announced funding awards to states through the Rural Health Transformation Program, an unprecedented $50 billion investment established under President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The Trump administration has also worked with 18 states across the country to ban junk food purchases using SNAP benefits starting this year. And thank you for leading that effort, Secretary Rollins. Additionally, President Trump took historic action to secure most favored nation drug pricing and secured deals with major pharmaceutical companies to massively lower the cost of prescription drugs. And those effects are being implemented as we speak. Americans are going to continue to see the result of these incredible deals the president cut. And I know President Trump and this team behind me worked incredibly hard to lower those drug costs for Americans. On Monday, the CDC adopted common sense updates to America's childhood vaccination schedule based solely on the gold standard of science. This action empowers parents and physicians to make the best individualized decisions to protect our children, while also restoring much needed confidence in our public health system. And as a MAHA mom myself, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, Secretary Kennedy. To build on this progress, the Trump administration is now updating federal nutrition standards and guidelines to ensure that Americans have the most accurate, data-driven information supported by science and hard facts, not special interests or partisan ideology. President Trump has tasked two of the great individuals behind me, USDA Secretary Rollins and HHS Secretary Kennedy, with collaborating on this vitally important project. And today they are here to officially unveil the 2025 to 2030 dietary guidelines for America. These new guidelines are informed by the best and most reliable research on health and nutrition, particularly as it relates to the role of our diets and the prevalence of chronic disease in the country. They are also These guidelines are easy to read and understand, so every American, young and old, can access this information that literally has the power to change lives. But these are not just an updated guideline. These are the foundation to all federal food programs in our country. These new guidelines are going to update the food that is served to America's children in our public schools, to the plates that are served to our great men in uniform in our military, our veterans, and the food that they are consuming at the VA. And these new guidelines are also going to impact nutritional programs for the needy in our country, such as WIC and Head Start. Unfortunately, for decades, federal dollars has promoted low-quality, highly processed foods that lead to scores of long-term health issues, which means Americans have gone broke because of these health issues. Faulty dietary guidelines of the past stacked the deck against healthy eating and food options for everyday American families, which has fueled the chronic disease epidemic and jacked up the healthcare costs of households across the country. This failed approach in our public health system ends today. When these guidelines are followed, Americans will be saving themselves thousands of dollars. If we want to cut healthcare costs in our country, we must become a healthier country. According to the CEA, poor diet is the root cause of obesity, which accounts for $400 billion in medical spending each year. A healthier America will lead to a more affordable America. The new dietary guidelines from the Trump administration will ensure federal dollars go to real food to improve public health and therefore save the American people their hard-earned cash over the course of their lives. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Secretary Kennedy. The great people behind me will give remarks, and then we'll get into Q&A for the officials that are here on this specific topic. They will leave because they're all very busy people, and then I will open it up to Q&A with the rest of you on the rest of the news in the world. So thank you, and we'll start with Secretary Kennedy.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Today marks a decisive change in federal nutrition policy made possible by President Trump's leadership and the work of MAHA moms and public health advocates who demanded reform. Today, in accordance with President Trump's directive, Brooke and I will release the dietary guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, the most significant reset of federal nutrition policy in history. These guidelines replace corporate-driven assumptions with common sense goals and gold standard scientific integrity. These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again. For decades, Americans have grown sicker while healthcare costs have soared. The reason is clear. The hard truth is that our government has been lying to us to protect corporate profit-taking, telling us that these food-like substances were beneficial to public health. Federal policy promoted and subsidized highly processed foods and refined carbohydrates and turned a blind eye to the disastrous consequences. Today, the lies stop. The new guidelines recognize that whole, nutrient-dense food is the most effective path to better health and lower healthcare costs. Protein and healthy fats are essential and were wrongly discouraged in prior dietary guidelines. We are ending the war on saturated fats. Diets rich in vegetables and fruits reduce disease risk more effectively than many drugs. Whole grains outperform refined carbohydrates. Added sugars, especially sugar-sweetened beverages, drive metabolic disease, and today our government declares war on added sugar. Highly processed foods loaded with additives, added sugar, and excess salt damage health and should be avoided. As Secretary of Health and Human Services, my message is clear: eat real food. Nothing matters more for healthcare outcomes, economic productivity, military readiness, and fiscal stability. The dietary guidelines shape dozens of federal feeding programs, including Head Start. These standards affect 45 million school lunches every day, meals for 1.3 million active duty service members, and food served to 9 million veterans in VA hospitals. Today begins the work of aligning those programs with affordable, whole, nutrient-dense food. Implementation requires coordination across the government. I'm working with many of my fellow cabinet secretaries to deliver results. I want to thank Bobby Mukamala, thank you very much, who is the president of the American Medical Association, for committing to mobilize the medical community on nutrition. And I thank also the American Academy of Pediatrics for partnering on this effort. I also look forward to working with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Marty McCary to fund and prioritize rigorous nutrition research at the NIH and at the FDA. The stakes are measurable and severe. A Johns Hopkins analysis estimates that 48% of every federal taxpayer dollar now goes to healthcare. The CDC reports that 90% of healthcare spending treats chronic disease. That means that 40%, 40 cents of every dollar that taxpayers pay in this country is going to treat diseases that could be averted through good food. The United States has the highest obesity and type 2 diabetes rate in the developed world. We spend 3 times more per capita than the European Union on healthcare, yet our life expectancy is 5 years lower, largely due to diet-related chronic disease. Our childhood obesity rate is 5 times higher than countries like France. 1/3 of U.S. teens have prediabetes, over 35% are overweight, or obese, and 20% of young adults have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. 77% of military-aged Americans are ineligible for military service because of diet-related conditions. If a foreign adversary sought to destroy the health of our children, to cripple our economy, to weaken our national security, there would be no better strategy than to addict us to ultra-processed foods. It's shocking that our own government helped to drive these cataclysmic changes in our diet. The damage is real, it is preventable, and President Trump has ordered it to end. If the United States reduced obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's to Japanese levels, we would save approximately $600 billion a year. About 50% of Medicare's projected long-term deficit, or $5,000 per family annually. Current policy worsens the problem. 42 million Americans rely on SNAP, where common purchases include sugary drinks, candy, and chips. 78% of SNAP recipients are enrolled in Medicaid, and 90% of Medicaid spending goes to chronic disease. These incentives raise healthcare costs and undermine health. This must change. The new framework centers on protein and healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. And you can see the food pyramid here. It's upside down, a lot of you will say. But it was actually upside down before, and we just righted it. For the first time, the dietary guidelines directly address ultra-processed foods and set firm sugar limits in federal procurement, driving a significant reduction in added sugar in school meals. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership and the partners committed to ensuring that federal food dollars support real food and better health. Thank you. And I want to introduce my partner and a friend, Brooke Rollins, who is an extraordinary collaborator on this.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. What a honor to be here. I think this is Caroline's first press conference back, and what a great way to start the new year, 2026. I want to thank Secretary Kennedy. Your commitment to the well-being of Americans is such a blessing to this nation. We have been working on these new dietary guidelines really since almost day one. Bobby and I were voted on the same day and sworn in on the same day. So I think the partnership from minute one has been real and extraordinary. As Secretary Kennedy mentioned, America is in the middle of the worst chronic health crisis in our nation's history. Over 40% of the roughly 73 million children in the United States have at least one chronic health condition, and nearly 90% of healthcare spending goes toward treating people with chronic disease. Secretary Kennedy mentioned that, but it is really important to keep underscoring that fact. This crisis is unacceptable. It prevents Americans from living healthy and happy lives. And for decades under both Republicans and Democrats, federal incentives have promoted low quality, highly processed foods and pharmaceutical interventions instead of prevention. As a result, nutrient-dense whole foods grown by America's farmers and ranchers have been increasingly displaced. The Trump administration is acutely aware of this danger, and today this announcement is making a major step in doing something about it. Thankfully, the solution is simple and should be non-controversial. Eat real food. This is the main message of the new dietary guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, which encourage households and schools to prioritize whole nutrient-dense foods. That means more protein, more dairy, more healthy fats, more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, whether they are fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. We are finally putting real food back at the center of the American diet. Real food that nourishes the body, restores health, fuels energy, and builds strength. This pivot also leans into the abundant, affordable, and healthy food supply already available from America's incredible farmers and ranchers. By making milk, raising cattle, and growing wholesome fruits, vegetables, and grains, they hold the key to solving our national health crisis. And President Trump is mobilizing government to ensure families across America have greater access to these healthy foods. In the past 12 months, inflation has slowed and wages have risen for the first time in 5 years. Under President Trump's leadership, prices for everyday staples are declining and more help is on the way. Recent data show that fruits, vegetables, dairy, and proteins, including eggs, pork, and ground beef, are becoming even more affordable every day for our American people. American households enjoy the most affordable and abundant food in the world, and today's release only reinforces that reality. A healthy meal is within reach for all American families. These new dietary guidelines are a framework which is meant to be customized to meet the needs, the preferences, and the financial status of all American families. For example, a meal including such items as pork, or eggs, or whole milk, or cheese, tomatoes, other fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, whole grain bread, corn tortilla can cost today right around $3 for that meal. $3. And soon USDA will finalize our stocking standards, which means that those businesses in America that take the SNAP benefit, what they are required to stock in order to take that benefit. By the way, that's almost 250,000 retailers across America. That very soon we will be finalizing that rule that will mandate all 250,000 retailers in America double the type of staple foods that they provide for America's SNAP households. This means healthier options will be in reach for all American families, regardless of circumstance, at levels never seen before in our country. These dietary guidelines are foundational to so many USDA programs, and their introduction marks the first step in connecting America's schools and dinner plates to the best of American agriculture. Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring common sense, we are restoring scientific integrity, and we are restoring accountability to federal food and health policy. The new guidelines are all about putting the well-being of Americans first, exactly where it should have been all along. This is the foundation that will make America healthy again, not just for those of us alive today, but for our children and our children's children and those coming behind. I want to end by saying, God bless American families. God bless the American farmer and rancher, and God bless America. What an honor now to introduce another great partner in this incredible work, and that is Dr. Mehmet Oz. Thank you.
Congratulations to Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, and do want to express my appreciation for what the president has done overall to increase the affordability of healthcare. The biggest accomplishment, perhaps, for the health system ability to drop down prices last year was the most favored nation drug pricing that Caroline mentioned. These are incredibly effective at reducing the costs, for example, of what the president calls the fat shot, the Ozempic, GLP-1s category of medications. We dropped them dramatically. But the best way to reduce drug spend in America is to not need the drugs in the first place. What you're hearing today with these dietary guideline adjustments are going to be massively effective, and not just dropping the need for us to buy these weight loss drugs, but buy the expensive drugs for autoimmune problems. We have evidence that food is medicine when it comes to conditions as varied as mental health issues, from Alzheimer's and depression to fundamental realities of how children learn in school. So the question then becomes, what is this actually going to do in dollars and cents? And I had the group at CMS run some numbers for us to try to give you concrete assessments of how much this will drop the spend that the federal taxpayer must make for Medicare and Medicaid. And I'm more optimistic today than ever that we can address the fast rising rate of healthcare expenses in America because of movements like this. Right now, we're increasing health expenditures in America at roughly twice the rate of the GDP growth. We will correct that if we can get America to be healthier, because you can't be a wealthy nation without being a healthy nation. So 2 numbers for you to remember. The first is 30 billion. Why? 30% of healthcare costs are directly attributable to obesity. I'm not talking about indirect associated expenses, which are also present, but a very conservative number, 30%, are directly attributed to obesity. That's about $300 billion a year for just Medicare, If we were to affect obesity by 10%, which is an incredibly conservative and justifiable assumption that has been borne out in evidence-based dietary experiments and trials, just that alone is $30 billion of reduction of expenses for Medicare rather. That's also obviously correlated with Medicaid reduction in spending. In Medicaid, it's a different opportunity because in Medicaid, we educate children. 53% of children in America are covered by Medicaid or CHIP. And we have programs to teach kids and their parents what to eat, and how to make these dietary guidelines that Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy have crafted with the teams into practice. It will dramatically change the natural history of how children are able to participate in life. But let me give you one last number. If we're able to get the average American, who today retires on average at age 61, get them just to work 1 year longer, because they feel so vital, so strong, so bullish about their future, because they're feeding their bodies nutrients that are essential to their high functioning productivity, we will increase the overall GDP of our nation by trillions of dollars. So we will reduce healthcare expenses. At the same time, we jazz up the U.S. economy with trillions of dollars created by the productivity of American workers. God bless you both for making the DGA feasible and making it perhaps the wisest investment we could make in our communities. Marty Makary is one of my closest friends, the powerful leader of the FDA, who's been taking brave steps along the line and has additional insights.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Oz. Today marks the beginning of the end of an era of medical dogma on nutrition. For decades, we've been fed a corrupt food pyramid that has had a myopic focus on demonizing natural, healthy, saturated fats, telling you not to eat eggs and steak, and ignoring a giant blind spot: refined carbohydrates, added sugars, ultra-processed food. This study in JAMA now shows that 60% to 70% of kids are getting their calories from ultra-processed foods. That's an epidemic. We now have a generation of kids addicted to refined carbohydrates, low in protein. They are literally nitrogen negative because we've used old flawed studies that used urine nitrogen to estimate body protein metabolism, and they missed the mark. The old guidelines had such a low protein recommendation that we are increasing that by 50 to 100%. Kids need protein. The old protein guidelines were to prevent starvation and withering away. These new protein guidelines are designed for American kids to thrive, and they're based on science, not on dogma. We have 40% of our kids now with a chronic disease. It is not their fault. This is something that is the result of bad advice from the government and a medical establishment that for decades peddled research from a flawed 1960s model. Today, we are setting the record straight. This is not a willpower problem of our nation's kids. This is something adults have done to kids, and we're going to fix it. And so, as Dr. Oz said, the best way to lower drug prices is for people to stop taking drugs they don't need. We are going to finally address the root causes of our broken healthcare system: insulin resistance and general body inflammation, advanced by the protein-poor, micronutrient-poor, ultra-processed, refined carbohydrate diet that kids are addicted to today. And so, on behalf of the Food and Drug Administration, we are proud to be a part of this. We are grateful to be contributing to this work. Thank you, Secretary Rollins. Thank you, Kyle Diamantis, the best deputy commissioner for food at the FDA the agency has ever had. This is a historic day in America. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope everyone's inspired to go eat a salad for lunch after this briefing. If anybody has questions on this topic, we will take a few and then we'll get into the topic. We'll start with our new media seat. If you have a question on this topic today, Jamie Franklin, she comes from the Conservator. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, first of all, Caroline, congratulations on your pregnancy. We're so excited for you.
Thank you.
Matt had moms across the country, including myself, are just so excited by what this administration is doing to make our kids healthy again. But we do have concerns when it comes to these blue states pushing back on a lot of progress that we're making as an administration. And particularly, we're really excited that you guys revised and streamlined this vaccine schedule. However, what we have seen is that these blue states, whether it be, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, or pushing back on immigration, they continue to stop your guys' progress. So what has been the response from these blue states? Because as MAHA moms enrolling our kids in school, this is a big issue, and we celebrate what you guys are doing, but we want to have it, even in the blue states as well.
I mean, my hope is that we only released these earlier, 2 days earlier. I'm sorry.
Duck is also high in protein.
It's an interesting.
Duck is a good thing to eat, everybody.
They only released the new vaccine schedule 2 days ago. The vaccine schedule, there's nothing compulsory in it. Everybody, I've always promised, I'm not going to take people's vaccines away from them. People who want to get vaccines, everybody who wants them can get all of the vaccines that were on the old schedule. They will all be paid for by the Vaccines for Children program or for the insurance the same as before. We release guidelines that we think are optimal to public health. They're the same with core vaccines that are required by the European community. And those nations all have much better health outcomes than we do. And they're based on their best science and also on their conviction that when you put too many vaccines on the program, it actually reduces compliance. It reduces uptake. And so we want to maximize the uptake of vaccines by making sure that Americans know that we are making recommendations that are science-based, that are common sense, that are grounded in science. And right now, that's the best science that we have. But again, there's 3 categories of vaccine. One is the core schedule, which resembles the European countries. The second is for people who have vulnerabilities or high risk, and that doesn't change at all. And then the third is shared decision making, which any vaccine that was on the old schedule, you can continue to get. So people will make their own choices, and that's what democracy is about.
I asked the boss, Caroline, for permission to add a little bit to this because I think it's really important. And by the way, Jamie, what a superstar you are. It's so fun to see you in this seat, Jamie Franklin. The blue state question is a really important one. And for those of us that are running agencies with these programs, I mean, I've talked to a lot of you already about how we have 22 blue states that won't give us their SNAP data so that we can figure out and ensure that those who really need these programs are actually getting these programs. Clearly, you all have been writing about Minnesota. California is next. We're looking at New York, some other states. The amount of fraud in all of these programs is absolutely stunning. And the challenge is, I mean, for Medicaid, et cetera, I know, Dr. Oz, you've talked a lot about that. This is a significant problem. And I think who's really harmed in all of this conversation and when these blue states aren't partnering with us to try to do this right is we say blue states and red states, but in those states, there are all kinds of our citizenry and that aren't all Democrat or aren't all Republican. We had a poll that just came out that had about 85% of all Americans believe that states should turn their data over on SNAP so that we can figure out where the fraud is and ensure these programs are going where they need to go. So my request of these blue states and these blue state governors is partner with us. Let us figure out how to do this better. Let us make sure that whether it's the vaccine schedule or the SNAP program or the Medicaid program or the child care program, that we are doing everything we can to protect every tax dollar, but to also ensure those who need it the most vulnerable in our society are getting the programs they need versus those who A, are not even supposed to be here, or B, are cheating the system.
Welcome, one and all. What a day today. I can't wait to get into the weeds with you here a bit. Thank you for those of you who are here, and for those of you that have already seen that press conference. Thanks for hanging out or seeing it for the second time. So, my friends, we're going to get into some pretty interesting things tonight. I'd like to welcome everybody and just say, let's check our code. Imagine we're coming in out of the cold into the Sned shed, nice and cozy in here. You don't need this big, fat, heavy coat. And imagine all your indoctrination, preconceived notions, unconscious bias wrapped up in that coat, and just take it off and check it at the coat check, grab a claim ticket. It's safe there. You can grab it on the way out. It's just a tool that I use when I'm looking at something that I already have a preconceived notion about, or I've already read something about, and I feel very strongly about it. I'll use this tool myself. It's an NLP tool. I'll use this tool myself to kind of push away the things that I don't necessarily need to investigate something new. Once I've investigated that something new, unfiltered and unmanipulated by, my program mind, my brainwashing, my, indoctrination, etc., then I can go back to the coat check, grab my coat and see, match it up against it and see what fits and see how much of that coat I leave behind. I might empty the pockets. I might get rid of it altogether, because I have new information, and every day we have new information. And I feel like I'm, and I imagine you do too, is like, how many fire hoses can we possibly be drinking from information wise? It has long left the drip, drip, drip stage and is significantly into the gushing fire hose stage of just, information. So I want to get into that. I do want to share with you, before we move on from the food. And by the way, this is huge. That the reason why I wanted to share this: 3 meals a day, some of us 2 meals a day. We all shift. I think we should be eating a meal every 3 days. That's how those people lived to be so long in the tooth, if you will, back in the day in biblical times. And of course, we're in biblical times now as well, in finding ways in which to extend our lives healthily and so forth. So getting rid of the food pyramid is so huge, and getting these contaminants, getting these poisons out of the food. Here's the thing: it's harder to change people's food habits than it is to make the food healthier. Think about that. Getting somebody to give up Doritos, I don't eat them myself. But I do like corn chips, organic corn chips with, spices on them that kind of mimic Doritos. But that's a big shift, especially if somebody gets lunch every day, and they're working and they grab a sandwich, they grab some chips, and they reach for Doritos. So it's much harder to get people to change their habits, their eating habits, than it is to just say, stop putting shit in food that people like, and make it healthier. And so that's really, really a big, this is a big thing. I mean, and to think about what it took to make this happen too. The big agriculture, the big pharma, all these huge multi-trillion-dollar industries that are going to be affected negatively. In other words, where we're at now with the food and the profits and all that, hey, that's business as usual. That's fantastic. However, what if we force those companies, if they're going to do business in the United States, just force them to make it healthier? And so this is a big step, folks. We just saw yesterday, or 2 days ago, the vaccine schedule changed. Okay. From like 72 down to like, what is it, 11 now, in the very early years. That is huge, so huge, because it not only takes a bite out of the pharmaceutical industry profits from a standpoint of the vaccines themselves, but the pharmaceutical companies know that once people vaccinate, then they're going to need other things. They're going to need allergy medication. They're going to need, you know, um, intestinal medication. They're going to need, all these things. And so that's where the real profit is. So to understand the shifting and the overturning of these profit ships, if you will, to turn a ship around takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of water. It takes a lot of time to turn a big, huge ship around. And that's what they did with the pharmaceutical industry with the vaccines. And that's what they're doing with the agricultural industry and the pharmaceutical industry with this announcement today. And so there is much, my friends, to be really happy for. Do we have the same healthy food that, say, they have on the Mediterranean with fresh olives and fresh grapes making wine and no glyphosate in the wheat and et cetera, et cetera? We've still got a long way to go, but this was the most difficult step. And once they make this step, the next steps will be much easier. So I'm very excited about this. But before we leave the food, I want to share what Bobby shared on his X today. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you.
The pyramid doesn't work. We've already tried it.
It's upside down.
What?
Sir, the pyramid is upside down.
Turn the pyramid upside down. You can't be serious. That would put butter and fat at the top of the damn food pyramid.
Doesn't that make more sense? Doesn't that make sense? Like real food, this is real solutions. I don't know where the popcorn goes that you're seeing in spiritual Street Fighters meme that she made here. But that's what it should be. Let me finish playing this out.
Get the president on the phone. Tell him to have some steak with his butter. The pyramid doesn't work. We've already tried it.
Tell him to have some steak with that butter. Fantastic. I am, and by the way, Panic in DC, this is from Spiritual Street Fighter. I thought this was appropriate tonight because of the sheer level of panic that we're seeing from the deep state. And I want to get into that a little bit. I want to start with the following. Now, we've heard, military is the only way forward is the military from Q, right? So I wanted to pay extra special attention to this these two posts by President Trump. This one primarily, and I want to take you to that and then do a quick dive, and then we're going to go right to Minneapolis. That obviously that's a big story today. A woman being shot, and when we go to, I want this to be your foundation going into the story on Minnesota, because we've been directed towards military multiple times, and now it's getting very serious because what you're about to see in Minneapolis, where Governor Walz is basically he's saying that he's going to activate the National Guard to go against ICE. So this is the insurrection that you're seeing beforehand. But let me show President Trump's post today. All United States defense contractors and the defense industry as a whole, beware. While we make the best military equipment in the world, no other country is even close. Defense contractors are currently issuing massive dividends to their shareholders and massive stock buybacks at the expense and detriment of investing in plants and equipment. This situation will no longer be allowed or tolerated. Also, executive pay packages in the defense industry are exorbitant and unjustifiable, given how slowly these companies are delivering vital equipment to our military and our allies. Salary, stock options, and every other form of compensation are far too high for these executives. Defense companies are not producing our great military equipment rapidly enough. That's, I think, the third time he said that. And once produced, not maintaining it properly or quickly. From this moment forward, these executives must build new and modern production plants, both for delivering and maintaining this important equipment and for building the latest models of future military equipment. Until they do so, no executive should be allowed to make in excess of $5 million, which, as high as it sounds, is a mere fraction of what they are making now. Additionally, the maintenance and repair of equipment, once sold, is far too slow and must be immediately enhanced. As president, I am demanding that maintenance be spot on time. Therefore, I will not permit dividends or stock buybacks for defense companies until such time as these problems are rectified. Likewise, for salaries and executive compensation. Military equipment is not being made fast enough. It must be built now with the dividends, stock buybacks, and overcompensation of executives, rather than borrowing from financial institutions or getting the money from your government. Longer term, this is good for both executives and shareholders because it will be great for our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Okay. So he's telling the companies what they must do, just like he did with the food companies, just like he did with the pharmaceutical industry. President Trump is calling the shots, and he's calling the shots to the benefit of you and I, America first. And that has never been more clear than it is right now. So let me do a couple things here on this dive. First of all, we're going to go to Snedheads. We're going to go to the research the Q drops. And then on the research the Q drops, we're going to go to the capital letter counter. And we go to the capital letter counter, and you'll see 214 capital letters in that post, including his signature. And the reason why I included his signature is because the one before he just said Donald J. Trump, and this one says President of the United States of America. So it's obvious to me that he's using his signature also as a key. Now, if I was taking you to this dive and nothing was happening, which is kind of the way we were feeling years ago, that could be pretty frustrating. And it has been, because we've been waiting a long time. Not a lot of time in the realm of how long this corruption has been ongoing, but also the fact that Q told us how long it would take. And so going to this capital letter and then going into the Q drop, it takes us to, there were capital letters was 214. What is Facebook? Spying tool? Who created it? Who really created it? Nothing is what it seems. Now, why would he use 214 capital letters in that post that I'll take you back to now? For example, dividends is not capitalized. Stock buybacks is not capitalized. They're not proper nouns. Defense companies is not capitalized. Likewise, salaries, executive compensation, capitalizing all military equipment is not being made fast enough, which was like the third or fourth time that he said that just in this post alone. Defense, the defense industry, which has been retitled as the Department of War, is who created Facebook. It was created by the financing arm of DARPA in QTEL, and DARPA created LifeLog as a way to get all of our information, but not steal our information, have us offer our information gladly, just hand it right over. And that's a major, major problem, because now that they have AI into it, it is tragic. I just watched 60 Minutes, by the way. You're welcome. Jumping on a grenade of CBS viewing. Okay. And Leslie Stahl had on Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's bashing Trump. She's just doing her thing. And of course, CBS is happy because they have somebody on that is bashing Trump, along with Leslie Stahl. But there was a story about these children that have been engaging with these chatbots, and these chatbots, and they've committed suicide. And the chatbots have gotten sexual with their conversation. They've gotten all this, and didn't offer any resources for the children when they were talking about killing themselves. So this AI is a serious problem with the more information they have about you, which is why I created Snedheads, which is soon to be, hold on one sec. And the show is over on Snedheads, by the way. So please join us over there. It's free to join. I asked for $17 a month to have a membership, which is going to turn into a partnership in the revenue. Okay. So while you're getting everybody else's, platforms like Zuckerberg's, you're making him billions. You're making Musk billions. You're making Zuckerberg again with Instagram. You're making the TikTok lords billions. You're going to be able to share things that you would normally share, but you're going to get benefit from that, not just a tokenization of your activity, but tokenization of people that you bring into the platform that see your post and want to look at it and then join us. So please join us over on snedheads.com. Many more announcements to come on this in the next, I expect the next week. So I'm looking forward to that. And the people that are already paid members on Snedheads, when we join, you're going to find that you're going to get a bonus for having joined before the launch of the Rubicon, with a Q, by the way, because as we know, Caesar crossed the Rubicon. And once he did, there was no going back. And he went in and conquered Rome and became the emperor. And we have crossed the Rubicon. There is no going back. We are going toward freedom, toward truth, toward justice, accountability. And I couldn't be more excited than I am right now at the direction that this country and this world is moving in. So Trump told us flat out, Facebook was created by DARPA. Q has told us that, but Trump was alluding to that today. Okay. The other thing was the hold on one second. How did I get to that one? I forgot. Okay. So the timestamp was 208. So I went to 28, and that is the clandestine post that we went to with Sir Oliver on Saturday night. It might have been the previous time. But this is what must be completed to engage military over other three-letter agencies. During the 50s and 60s, federal troops and federalized National Guard forces, accompanied by military intelligence personnel, were deployed to help integrate Southern schools to help deal with civil disorders in Detroit in 1967. Why did President Trump take us to this? Okay. This is key. This is the timestamp. All right. So let's go to President Trump's post earlier. Let me take you to that one. Let me see. I'm sorry. I didn't mean earlier. I meant later. Okay. Because these came before and this came later. And by the way, I got to throw this in there because I don't know how much time we'll have to spend on this, but this is the pull that up for you right here. Okay. President Trump announced today, for a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. It was the reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of the record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. It is for that reason and much more that I am immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes, and I will be calling on Congress to codify it. People live in homes, not corporations. I will discuss this topic, including further housing and affordability proposals and more, at my speech in Davos in 2 weeks. He's gonna give them a piece of his mind over in Davos, folks. This is huge. This is going to, there's going to be a vacuum of buying, which is going to lower prices, and it's going to make it more viable for you and I to buy and sell homes to people that need them. Okay. So that's going to be huge. And the 50-year mortgage, again, most mortgages, I looked at a house today, it's had 4 different mortgages in a matter of, I want to say 7 years. So you're never going to have a mortgage most likely go 50 years. It's going to be, this much, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And if you can pay it off earlier, if you can put more money down, you're going to build more equity in your home. But if this is necessary for you to get into a home, well, it's just going to lower your monthly prices. So that's huge. Okay, let's talk about what happened in Minnesota today. Let me show you the video. Most of you have probably already seen this, but I don't want to make assumptions, and I want to make sure that I am giving you the context of what's going on. So this was in Minnesota. ICE vehicles were being blocked by a woman in a red vehicle, which is on the other side of this silver vehicle. And I'm going to play this for you. So this is slowed down so you can see it, right? So this woman was blocking ICE. They tried to get her out of the car, and one ICE agent was in front of her, and she pulled off and kind of hit him, definitely hit him, but he kind of jumped out of the way. But here's a little bit closer look at this. This is slowed down and blown up. So there's the ICE agent right there. Okay. And there's an ICE agent coming up from the side. I'll show the other. And boom, he's right in front of the vehicle. And she hits him. And it looks like might have even run over his toe. And he shot her. There we go again. Okay. That could have ended very badly for that ICE officer. And instead, I believe he's in the hospital, but it's, it doesn't look like he was hurt too badly. But instead, it ended very badly for the woman who was there and driving. And I want to also add, let me see if I've got this one handy. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm over on Bobby Kennedy here. Let me find this. And then we're going to go to Minnesota. We're going to show you what's going on there, which is, that's where, George Floyd was launched from. All those riots, the summer of 2020, the summer of love, as they say, which was anything but love, right? Let me play this woman for you, and then I'm going to go back to President Trump's post.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
That was her goal. They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest.
So she was the main car leading the protest. Now, I've also read that somebody said that might have been a police officer, not ICE, but I do believe it was ICE. But we'll find out certainly soon enough. But what I wanted to say is that she supposedly, her wife, a 37-year-old woman, imagine that, she has a wife, that she was outside the car videotaping the whole thing. And she was the one that cursed and reacted from the event. And also that she was driving a car with Missouri plates on it. This is from Jordan Sather. And so she was in Minneapolis, Renee Good, Missouri plates. Her profile says she's from Colorado, just experiencing Minneapolis. From Colorado, driving Missouri plates, experiencing Minneapolis with the stated goal of being there to impede ICE. Professional agitator for sure, probably getting paid to specifically go experience Minneapolis and protest. All these paid agitators are being used as useful idiots to get exactly these types of dramatic situations to happen. So this was also, by the way, let me take you back to President Trump's post. I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Now, whether or not it looked like he got hit and maybe his foot got run over, but it sounds like she was certainly attempting to run him over. Otherwise, you don't hit the gas. Who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety, But the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting all our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe, meaning ICE. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate. President Donald J. Trump. So this is, again, we know that they're paid protesters, and we know that they're interfering with ICE's activities, and we also know that this is a and let me show you this other angle of it as well. They should not be there, period. They should not impede with any law enforcement, city, state, or federal, for that matter. So you see the guy's right in front of her. He pulls his pistol because he thinks she might do that. Yeah. So he got hit. His weapon, loaded, might weigh, what, a pound? Her vehicle, what's that weigh? Maybe 2,000 pounds? Yeah, both deadly. Okay, but one's not to be, any different than the next. It's basically, they're both, tools that could kill somebody. Okay. So let me take you to some of this reaction. When you see some of this reaction, you're going to be like, oh my God, like, no wonder, people are attacking ICE, not just those who are paid to do so, but how about those who are convinced that ICE is the devil? Because some people, not everybody's paid, but certainly people are, most of them are, and people are certainly coerced by these by the actions and the verbiage of some of these leaders. Let me show you Tim Wall's response here.
Order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. Now I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Porter to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed.
Okay, so that's happening. And then you've got, so I'm going to repost that. And what's Fry? Fry's mayor of Minneapolis. Jacob Frey. Okay, here he is. Oh, I don't know if he's going to post this, actually. Let me just search for Frey. But his was unbelievable. Here we go. This is this is unbelievable, folks. If you haven't seen this yet, buckle your seatbelts here.
I am increasingly concerned because of the chaos that is being caused by these ICE agents, that somebody is gonna get seriously injured or killed. Somebody is gonna get seriously injured or killed. And whether that is an ICE agent or a community member, we all know the tinderbox that could explode because of it. We all know.
I want to be clear. This was a while ago that he said this, but this was the narrative. This was the narrative spin that was taking place. that led to these events. And then I'm going to show you his response today.
Is going to get seriously injured or killed. And whether that is an ICE agent or a community member, we all know the tinderbox that could explode because of it. We all know that the federal government is looking for reasons to deploy more and more people to Minneapolis and blue cities around the country. We all know that we cannot afford to lose a single Minneapolis resident because they showed up and decided to protect their neighbors, because they showed up and decided to express their constitutional right to free speech. And so that concern is deep. It is held, by the way, not just by me and our residents and the people who are standing up behind me. The concern about getting somebody killed is also held by our police officers.
All right. So that was, let me see if I can find a date on that. But let me take you, this is, of course, is him. Let me take you to his response to the shooting today.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated...
What a potty mouth. What a potty mouth. I would never talk like that. But, right? Come on. The mayor is talking like he's a tough guy. Like he has any authority to get ICE out of his city.
Get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now. And justice is what we've all got to get.
Okay, so here's the question. So they're basically, you have your leaders. The mayor saying get out of Minnesota, Minneapolis. The governor saying that we're going to deploy the National Guard against ICE. That, my friends, I mean, and by the way, this all happened. Dave Newstrees, and I saw his post earlier today, said that I think I bookmarked that, but basically that let me see if I can find that. That this happened on 34th Street. So of course he went to Q Clearance Patriot. And Q Clearance Patriot is the following. Sorry, let me get there. Okay. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm. I've read this to you many, many times. We'll be initiating the emergency broadcast system. The atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. People wishing to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. So this, now you can't always know that something's going to happen on 34th Street, right? Because they were just stuck trying to get this out. But what if this is part of the movie? To expose what, so here's the thing. If Walls, and especially in the heat of all this fraud that's being unveiled, this could very easily be a dark hat operation if they're just trying to take the focus away from the investigation into fraud and giving themselves a reason to riot, just like they did with George Floyd. So this could be a white hat operation and taking us to 34, and maybe the woman's not dead, maybe what have you. We don't know, but I don't often go to Q drops on such a thing, but given where we're at, I thought it was interesting. And again, that was a good find by Dave News Treason. And now, if Walls is talking about bringing in the National Guard, which he has, Trump has authority over that. My understanding is with the National Guard, like he trumps Walls. But he also, if Walls holds on to the National Guard, Trump's got the Marines. So this could be a reason to go in with the Marines because he's allowed to engage in matters of civil unrest. And that is the drop that President Trump took us to tonight with the clandestine drop 28. And this is about how they used the National Guard and the Marines, the military, in domestic unrest. In Detroit, with MLK's assassination, military intelligence units also continued to collect data on Americans at home who were suspected of involvement in subversive activities. Now, this woman is dead. Why would President Trump jump to the conclusion that the woman filming it was a paid agitator and the woman in the car was a paid agitator? Imagine how bad President Trump would look if they were just on their way to the market and their car got stuck and she just got out, just some story that it's going to make everybody feel sorry for them, right? If that's the story, President Trump's not going to look very good. So he, Q said, when have you known POTUS to make a statement that wasn't true? So he's not going to put that out if it can't be backed. He's not going to put out that post about Somalians being garbage. He already knew about all the fraud. He didn't need Nick Shirley to tell him. The FBI was already amping things up in Minnesota because of the fraud that they were finding. Now, I'm not taking any credit away from Nick Shirley, who was primarily interviewing the guy that had already done all the work. I think his name's David. I don't know his last name. We should know his name. But great expose on all that and bringing the public attention to it. But President Trump already knew that. That's why he called the Somalians garbage like a week ago, a week before this fraud was unveiled, right? Beginning to unveil. So Q is telling us that what must be completed to engage military over other three-letter agencies. And it tells the story of the personal information that they're gathering on these people, the infiltrators. The Army had at least one observer at every demonstration of more than 28 people. And again, this is post 28. Okay. The Army used 1,500 plainclothes agents to watch demonstrations, infiltrate organizations, and spread disinformation. They're basically telling us this is what Q has been doing. And then the Anon goes on to say Trump has had military infiltrate Antifa and all the dissenting local governments, always 5 steps ahead. Please be true. That's from an Anon. Well done, picture being painted, was Q's response. So we already know, like, I don't need a license plate from Missouri or the fact that I don't need all that to know that she's a paid agitator, and this is going to blow the lid off this whole thing, which is already starting to unfold. And now we're going to see let me share phrase comment. And this is, I want to hear what Scott Jennings has to say about this too, before we're going to go to see what's going on live in Minneapolis here. Somebody said they were in Minneapolis, and you were hearing a lot of noises. Would you please chime in on the chat, and I'll go check that out. Here's Scott Jennings on CNN.
Well, all the political actors seem to be weighing in. The president has weighed in. The governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis have weighed in and effectively called this guy a murderer. They don't know that. I mean, there's obviously two points of view, and I assume there's going to be more facts that we're all going to learn in the days and weeks ahead. But it's pretty apparent this guy was standing in front of a vehicle and somebody accelerated it at him. How this shakes out in the legal system, I don't know. I do know this: the president's been a strong proponent of standing up for these ICE agents and other federal law enforcement who have been, in fact, under assault from protesters since he took office, and instructed them to simply enforce federal immigration law. And we have seen, in my opinion, a lot of irresponsible rhetoric over the year from Democratic officials like Tim Walz, who have called them Gestapo and murderers and everything else. And so there are consequences to that kind of language, and I think we're seeing that play out today. Well, all the political actors seem to be winning.
So, it's this this rhetoric, right? That they're coming out with, that ICE agents are bad. ICE agents are the devil. They're masked. They're not telling us who they are, and they're ripping families apart. And this whole story, they're doing their job after Obama allowed 21 million just to flood and paid for them to come in so that they could get, rig the elections. Yeah, it's kind of like 2020 all over again, right? Yeah. Stand your ground. Oh, that's a great question. Is Minnesota a stand your ground state? But I don't think that applies to ICE agents that are there working, and their job is being interfered with. Minnesota follows a duty to retreat rule for self-defense in public places. This means that if you can safely retreat or avoid the threat before using force, especially deadly force, you generally must do so to claim lawful self-defense. So there you go. So you have a duty to retreat, which he did, and he got out of the way. So, that can be argued, right? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, well, that's Scott Jennings for you, Teresa, on CNN. He's the sole conservative MAGA America First voice on there, which is fantastic to have him on there. Yeah, Minnesota is not a stand your ground. Yeah, thank you, both Bo Hunter and Tammy Jo. So, this is. So this is big, and then the vitriol that is being spoken by the mayor, by the governor, it's not like we got to wait and see what happens. We will we'll before we pass judgment, we're going to investigate, right? And it's crazy that they're not saying that, and that they're calling ICE murderer and all of this, right? This was an hour ago. This is Nick Sorter. Let me show you. This is an hour ago in Minnesota. Minneapolis police are MIA. So they're blocking and redirecting traffic. Obviously no permits, no, nothing like that. Let's see. Yeah, and the victim. Let me just show you a little bit of Jesse here.
Fox News alert. A woman was killed today during an ICE operation in Minneapolis. An ICE vehicle was stuck in the snow, and while trying to push it out, activists began harassing and blocking their path, boxing them onto the street. A woman parked her car, preventing the ICE agents from leaving, and was ordered to exit the vehicle multiple times. Officers attempted to open her door after she wouldn't comply. That's when she backed up her car and gunned it straight at an ICE agent. The agent opened fire on the driver to defend himself.
What the dude? What the
Kristi Noem, who was in Minneapolis today overseeing operations, is describing it as an act of domestic terrorism.
She had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism.
Multiple eyewitnesses have confirmed that this activist was screaming, yelling, disrupting ICE operations all day. One witness says she was the main car leading the protest.
So I showed you her already, but I just wanted to give you his take on it. Protesters in Milwaukee now look for this to explode because this woman will be made a martyr. But this is also the Minneapolis canceled school Thursday and Friday due to safety concerns. Thank you, Kelby. Yeah, so this is very much, I think what's going to happen is they're going to use this this as a martyr, use this woman as a martyr to stop the ICE and stop the federal investigations into this funding mechanism. But let me play this for you.
This is not just a story about violence and chaos, as you alluded to, Mr. President. This is a money story.
And by the way, this was when those influencers were there, and I believe Nick Sorter was there, which is why I just showed you his post. But remember when this happened, there were a handful of influencers there, mostly like Andy Ngo and Nick Sorter, and people that had been assaulted just being out and taking interviews.
And at the Government Accountability Institute, my colleague and I, Peter Schweitzer and our team, we followed the money, and we followed it to the top of what we call the protest industrial complex, Riot Inc. and we found a network of NGOs. It's not just the Soros network, the Open Society network. It's other funding networks, the Arabella funding network, the Tides funding network, Neville Roy Singham and his network, Foreign Cash. And it's also big left-wing funders. Some of them are not citizens of this country. Mr. Hans-Jörg Wyss of Switzerland. They're pouring money into this entire ecosystem. And so I want to share 3 money facts with you about what we call Riot Inc. Number one, like any corporation, Riot Inc. has many divisions. It doesn't just have the Antifa boots on the ground division. It has PR divisions. It has marketing divisions. It has a very well-funded legal division to get these boots on the ground back on the streets as quickly as possible. But it does have those investors that I mentioned. Number two, we have identified dozens of radical organizations, not just the decentralized Antifa organizations, but dozens of radical organizations that have received more than $100 million from the Riot Inc. investors. These would be the lawyer groups. These would be the groups that advocate for calling good, honest Americans fascists, et cetera. And then 3, I think the most shocking thing is that we have found that more than $100 million in U.S. taxpayer funding has flowed into these funding networks, including at least $4 million to these very groups themselves, not just Antifa types, but there was an event in Atlanta called Stop Cop City. Over 60 rioters were charged with domestic terrorism. These groups received money for that from both the billionaire class as well as taxpayer money. So one other thing, this money helps fund the decentralized crowdfunding platforms. These are ways that Antifa, the John Brown Gun Club of Elm Fork, which had links to that attack on the ICE facility, the Socialist Rifle Association, and just because they don't have LLCs or EIN numbers doesn't mean they can't get paid. Some of these funding platforms, crowdfunding platforms, are funded by this network that we call Riot Inc. So again, I want to thank you for your leadership, for the whole cabinet's leadership on this. We're going to keep following the money and appreciate everything you're doing, sir.
Do you know the name of any of the funders? Do you know the names? Because if you do, I'd like you to give them to Cash or Pam.
Absolutely.
Or Christy.
Yeah, we'll do
as
that.
soon as you can. That's all of you. Because you probably know the names after a certain period of time. You tend to find out. But these are people that do not have good intention for the country. And that's treasonous probably. So if you could, very important, if you could do that, it would be great. Nobody would know better than you. You'll figure it out.
So this was, thank you for that, by the way, Nick. I think Nick Shirley was there. Yeah. So, does that guy work for TPUSA? Yeah. Half truths. All the money, corruption, and tariffs, and the American people won't see a dime. I don't know why you're so negative. Honestly, there's been nothing but positive coming out of this administration. And honestly, listen, you have your right to say what you feel, but you haven't checked your coat, because this is the past. This is the way it has been handled in the past. He's talking about getting rid of IRS, property taxes. He's already gotten, past the biggest tax break bill in history. So just enough with the negativity is all I want to say, because you're not seeing the whole truth. Okay. And I'm just hearing the half truth. And I just, listen, again, you're free to say what you want, but I'm going to recommend to you that you have a little bit more of a positive attitude because of the things we're seeing. If you weren't seeing those kind of moves, yeah, I'd say, yeah, you've got a point. I don't see your point at all because of what we are seeing happen. And it's the way it used to be. So that's just my take on this. And that's not your first, negative portrayal of what is happening here. And I honestly can't understand how you could have a negative portrayal of everything that we're seeing, because this is unprecedented. You've never seen this in your lifetime. I've never seen this in my lifetime. The kind of moves that are taking place. This from Eric Doherty. Now, also, I want to share that. What I wanted to do is take you first to President Trump's post on this subject. Okay, and let me see if he's posted since then. I mean, he has posted since then, but I want to see if he hasn't posted anything regarding Minnesota yet. But I will get on that for you when he does. So let's go to some of the drops that President Trump may have been alluding to. Let's first go to the capital letters that he used before his signature. 47. You can paint a picture based solely on the questions asked. Be vigilant today and expect a major false flag. Was this a false flag today? Because when you see something like this happen, you have to ask the question, as I've mentioned many, many times, cui bono, who benefits? So far, Walz benefits, Frey benefit, because it's a pause on the news cycle of that investigation, which is extremely damning to them, including what's his name? Ellison, the Attorney General. So who does this help? Well, it helps them. It also helps them in the public perception of ICE is bad, ICE is the devil. Stop, attacking and going after, illegal immigrants because they're just here for a better life. That's the narrative. Does anyone find it to be a coincidence there's always a terrorist attack when bad news breaks for the Dems? Now, why would President Trump take us to this with his capital letter count of this one, of the actual story of the Minnesota clip? Okay. Why would he be taking us to this with capital letters of 47? Because maybe it is bad news was breaking for the Dems with Venezuela, with Maduro, who has the goods on the election, has the goods on who's taken money from Venezuela in our Congress. The fraud, the Somali fraud that is blown up big time, and also across the country, like every other state. Okay. So yeah, bad news is breaking for the Dems, my friends. What is that called? Well, it's called a false flag, obviously. Military relevant? How? Okay, well, Walz is saying he's going to pull up the National Guard, but is Trump going to call up the National Guard? Not to stop ICE, but to stop Walz from interfering with ICE. Barack Obama could not and would not allow the military to destroy ISIS. Why? Because he created ISIS with the CIA and Mossad. How was ISIS formed? When? How has POTUS made such progress in the short time he's been president? Alice in Wonderland. So it takes us to Alice in Wonderland, which is also the next post I was going to take you to, which is 68. I'm sorry, this is where I wanted you to be. 68. So that was 47. 68 was the capital letter count if you take into account his signature. Okay. I look at both to see if they're both significant. What data just dropped? Why is this relevant? Huma. Where is Huma? Who is Huma connected to? What organization? What is Huma's family history? So this part is all about Harvard University Muslim alumni, Prince Awalid. What is who's connected with Obama, funded Obama? What is Huma's family history? Now it sounds like they're talking about Huma Abedin. How did Huma meet HRC? What did HRC say about Huma that demonstrates how close they are? She's like a sister to me. Why are Dems dropping HRC all of a sudden? Were deals made with select Democrats? Can we expose every crooked politician? 70%. Q is telling us 70% of the politicians are corrupt. Huma, follow Huma, Alice in Wonderland. Now, Huma represents Harvard University Muslim alumni. Huma Abedin represents the Muslim Brotherhood. Both represent the Muslim Brotherhood. And what is the Muslim Brotherhood doing? Well, they're a part of the Somali Muslims. Okay, so they want Islam to spread in the United States and to create division. And what's going on in Minnesota right now, the fraud that's been exposed of this network. So very significant drops that he's taken us to. 74 is the mirror of 47. Q equals Alice. You'll soon understand the meaning behind Alice and Wonderland. Everything has meaning. God bless. I believe that Q is Alice is the supercomputer in Saudi Arabia, but they also speak of Alice in context with Hillary Clinton as well. 86 is the reverse of 68. More on Saudi Arabia, the bloody wonderland, Alice in Wonderland signatures study. Important. This is about Hillary Clinton again. Abedin. 328 is the timestamp of that post. Owls, light will overcome darkness. Light will expose darkness. Light will reveal darkness. Light will defeat darkness. Owls, of course, represents the Moloch, and the owl is also where Congress sits. So that relates to the 70% the Q's talking about. And Congress is impeding quite a bit of the work that ICE is doing. This is the military timestamp of, again, this post by President Trump on the shooting in Minnesota. Okay. 1328, patriot, a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interests with devotion, a person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights against presumed interference by the federal government. Traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust, focus, a person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Now, this is the military timestamp of the shooting in Minnesota. They're talking about the Minnesota, politicians who are causing this vitriol against ICE. They want you divided. Divided you are weak. Together you are strong. There was no attempt to divide. There was, however, a strategic move to reveal. Be careful who you follow. Incorrect. And by the way, no outside comms. So if you're following somebody that's trying to predict what's going on and isn't using Q, please do not give that any credibility. Do your own research and see what Q had to say about such topics. Incorrect messages translated, passed, autists, correction made. No names mentioned. They revealed themselves. Fake and false, incorrect decodes removed, resolved. Fake and false claims of unknown allowed access to classified sealed indictments, removed, resolved. Do not fall victim to con artists. Use logic. Stay on point. This is not about a single person. This is not about fame, followers, or profiteering. We the people, we the people, we the people. There will come a time they will not be safe walking down the street. We will not be held hostage. Sky event, where we go one, we go all. Q plus. This is signed by President Trump. And he took us there with the military timestamp of his post on the Minnesota shooting. Okay. So very, very interesting. Trump will make sure ICE is safe. Stop. I agree. And I think they're going to go further with this as well. Like, in other words, I think President Trump is going to say anyone interfering, they have said this, but anyone interfering is subject to be shot. If you're putting ICE agents in danger, then you are subject to serious response. Let's just say that. And, it needs to be known. But at the same time, we need this civil unrest. We need this because of what's happening in the world. And we need to make sure that that this does not continue So we need the Insurrection Act. We need the military to put a stop to all this. This was the Babylon Bee. White House announces over 1 million new jobs were created in December, but they were all filled by Marco Rubio. I think that's absolutely based and hilarious. We are absolutely seeing Rubio just crushing it. I shared, let me see. You guys, have you seen that meme with, let me see if I can find it on my timeline that I posted yesterday. And this was Rubio realizing he has to be the governor of Greenland. Okay. Hilarious. And let me see. I bet that it's in the Rubio thing. Here's another one on Rubio. Right there. I think that might that be Venezuela? No, he's got some others here. Here's a Venezuela one right here. And then a little Red Riding Hood. I mean, these memes are America's team. Looks like the Cowboys. So it's getting good. Ravens. I don't know who that guy is though. Yeah. So that's funny. At any rate, so Rubio's obviously crushing it, and yeah, this is good. Yeah, and Waltz activated the National Guard. ICE remains rounding up people there. Something bad is going to happen. Yeah, and they need this. They need this. Yeah. I was kind of with you, Pretty Woman. I wasn't really big on him, and then just his stepping it up in a big way, and just seeing him in these situations and how he's coming together is very much. Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that was Nick Sorter. I shared that post of Nick Sorter's right before. And then when I was showing that clip, is really about the financial connections that are existing on all that. So let me share with you Mike Lindell, who is, running for the mayor. For the governor of Minnesota, and he was downtown.
Hello, everyone. Here I am in downtown Minneapolis. I just got interviewed on WCCO for my governor run, and you can hear the sirens going off in the distance. It's been just chaos, as you know, here in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and I'm looking forward to tonight. We're having a big debate and a forum for the rest of the governor candidates, and I could really use all of your help out there. We're going to win this. You can go to MikeLindellGov.com. Thank you all, and God bless. Hello, everyone. Here I am in downtown Minneapolis.
I don't think he knew what was going on at the time necessarily, but at any rate, we need a conservative in Minnesota for certain, so let me show Anna Paulina Luna today as well, and this is why.
Chair recognizes Ms. Luna.
Here we go.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. Honorable Robbins, based on your record before your committee, when did Governor Walz first become aware of widespread fraud in Minnesota social service programs?
I would assume that he has been aware of it since he ran for office for governor in 2018.
By 2017, DHS investigators warned CCAP fraud could exceed 50%. Was that information elevated to the governor's office?
Yes, there was an OLA report.
Thank you, ma'am. By 2020, state officials knew feeding our future invoices were fraudulent. We know that payments continued to the AG's knowledge. Did they continue to the governor's knowledge as well?
Yes.
Attorney General Ellison agreed on tape to fight Minnesota's own Department of Human and Health Services in exchange for Somali political and financial support. In your personal opinion, do you believe it is a possibility that Governor Walz also made that personal deal, or that he at least knew about the Attorney General's agreement?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to rehash what you guys have spent hours answering. We know that there's a big issue with the fraud in Minnesota. So on a number of things, I'd first like to point out, thank you for being here today. But because of your testimony and because of some of the evidence that we've seen brought forward, as well as I'm sure the fact that this committee, I assume, at Chairman Comer's direction, will be soon subpoenaing AG Ellison, I would like to make criminal referrals regarding Governor Walz as well as AG Ellison. As you know, U.S. Code 371 and U.S. Code 2, which deals with criminalized conspiracies to defraud the United States and establishes liability for individuals who knowingly aid or abet the commission of federal offense, includes willful blindness or deliberate inaction where duties to act exist. So I will be referring them later on today.
Okay, so referring them to DOJ for action. Robin, Christina just sent me this. This is the official narrative has been put out. Representative Nadler, ICE murdered an American citizen and legal observer in broad daylight today. Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, ICE just murdered a legal observer. What the hell is that? CARE, who was, made a terrorist organization by the state of Florida, by DeSantis, where an ICE agent shot a legal observer in the face, killing her. California endowment, breaking ICE shoots and kills legal observer. Krasenstein, legal observer in the New Republic, legal observer. Maxine Dexter, legal observer, and Ilhan Omar. I'm following news of a reported shooting of a legal observer by ICE agents in South Minneapolis. I'll continue to monitor the situation closely and will update as soon as I receive information. ICE must stop terrorizing our communities and leave our city. So this is all being said before they really investigate and know what the hell happened. Legal observer, folks, remember, we all read 1984. We all know George Orwell. We all know doublespeak. Legal observer, they use two words. Legal means that she was there legally, okay? Meaning she was a U.S. citizen, and meaning that her actions were legal. They were not. She was blocking ICE vehicles. Okay, and took off and tried to run over an ICE agent. So her actions were not legal. So these are all lies from the get-go, even though if it was found out that the man used excessive force, she was not legal. She was not acting legally. Okay. Observer. Nothing about, she was just watching. She wasn't doing anything. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't harassing ICE agents. She wasn't blocking traffic. She didn't try to run over somebody. She was just an observer. Do you see how easy it is to just absolutely destroy this narrative that they're pushing, right? When you know how they do it. Great work. This was a post by, Patriot. The script is out. This is Patriot right here. Let me show you that. Am I following Patriot? No, let me follow. So at Patriot, @_ Patriot 1776Q _ if you want to follow. Great post. And thank you, Robin, Christina, for that timely post. Let's see. Yeah, paid agitator. They didn't want to use that verbiage, right? Yeah, exactly. So, all right, my friends. If you would, my friends, please get your name on the wheel for a spin for a free year of snedheads.com and a t-shirt. Please donate. Keep the lights on here in the Sned Shed. Support the Sned Shed. Keep a roof over the Sned Shed. That's the biggest. That's the biggest one. And please help fund Truth, the shattering of this indoctrination that we find ourselves in. I just lost. There we go. Just lost my monitor there for a second. I think Jasper wiggled around down there at my feet. Let's see. I'm sharing on my timeline the following. This is Promethean action. I'm just going to show the beginning of it.
Yesterday, Donald Trump revealed his secret weapon for the midterm elections, and it takes dead aim at a key pillar of the global financial empire. He told House Republicans how to own the Democrats in the upcoming life and death 2026 elections by attacking the insurance cartels. Here's what he said.
Let the money go not to the big fat cats in the insurance companies that made 1,700% over the last short period of time. Let the money go directly to the people where they can buy their own health care. And I'm not sure that I've ever said anything that was more impactful. You know, I say a lot of things and have a lot of good ideas. And this was an idea that, I mean, the whole world went crazy. The whole country went crazy. The world went crazy with envy.
Trump told the gathered Republicans what everybody knows, that the party in power usually gets slaughtered in the midterms. But that's because, until Trump, both parties were wings of the same uniparty, simply taking turns managing the destruction of the U.S. economy on behalf of the London and Wall Street banks. But Trump doesn't play by their game. By targeting the obscene levels of financial looting carried out by the HMOs and the insurance companies, he's targeting the real enemy. Now, most MAGA supporters think it's a form of socialism. It's not. It's a form of fascist economics. And it comes from the same kind of economic thinking that gave us Nazi Germany, courtesy of the British.
So I shared that on my timeline. If you want to check out more of that, that is, they get into a lot of what's going on with the with England and the things that we need to look out for there. So let me take you to what's happening in Minnesota. Rise up, take a stand.
Rise up, take a stand. Stolen land. No illegal stolen land.
No one's illegal on stolen land. Rise up, take a stand. So they're whoever's writing these, they've got a nice ring to them. They're catchy. They rhyme. Congratulations. This is what we are up against, is this paid insurrection, which is why we need to absolutely get to the bottom of the money flow. And that's what's happening. And what you're seeing is you're going to see it in real time. Like, imagine the impact of finding out the money flow of this person in real time versus the, the money flow of the 2020 riots, right? And so very important. Let me see. I want to see what time. Okay, so this is Christy Nome. Let me get to get to this for you here. Okay. This was just tonight. Julie Donuts just posted this.
Why we're all here in this city today and why we've been here. In communities across this country and here in Minneapolis, we're just enforcing the laws that we have in this country. For years under President Biden, tens of millions of dangerous criminal illegal aliens, terrorists, and suspected terrorists were allowed to invade our country over our southern border. They were allowed to steal, to defraud, and to perpetuate violence against American citizens. Regardless of who your mayor or who your governor is, President Trump promised every single American that he would make America safe again. He promised every single American that he would work to protect them from dangerous criminals. Since Governor Walz has been in charge of Minnesota, we have seen homicides go up by over 50%. That's also during Mayor Fry's tenure as well. Since President Trump took office, Governor Walz has released over 470 violent criminals back onto the streets here in Minneapolis. He has another 680 of them still within his jurisdiction that he could give to us today to face the consequences for their crimes. Because Governor Walz and Mayor Fry refuse to protect Minnesotans and instead they protect these criminals, that's why we are here. And we didn't just show up yesterday, we've always been here. But we're surging operations because of the dangerous situation we see in this country and because we're no longer going to allow illegal criminals to damage and harm, to kill, to sexually abuse, to proliferate drugs, and to steal American taxpayers' dollars. This state has faced unprecedented immigration fraud. It's seen unprecedented benefit fraud. Individuals were allowed to come into this country and set up fake companies and fake nonprofits and divert billions of dollars away from American citizens and those vulnerable citizens who truly needed the services from those programs. This city has burned before, and your mayor and your governor let it happen. President Trump is not going to let that happen. He and our federal law enforcement officers are here to bring peace and to bring public safety and to ensure that criminal activity is stopped and that people who perpetuate it will face consequences. Since we have been here in recent weeks, we have arrested over 1,500 criminals off of the streets. Our law enforcement has arrested murderers, known and suspected terrorists, child pedophiles, and other brutal criminals that were protected here in this city. We should all work together to protect our citizens. We should all protect the men and the women and the families who live here in Minneapolis, who live in Minnesota, and live throughout this entire country.
Yeah, that's straight from Kristi Noem, folks. And things are going to shift. I'm going to be live tomorrow night to go over the other things that are transpiring, certainly, and it is so much. But basically, President Trump is actively making things happen, and I'll give you his last post tonight, which was he got a call from the president of Colombia. It was a great honor to speak with the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, who called to explain the situation of drugs and other disagreements that we have had. I appreciated his call and tone and look forward to meeting him in the near future. Arrangements are being made between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Foreign Minister of Colombia. The meeting will take place in the White House in Washington, D.C. So he goes from telling President Trump, you better not, come for me. We'll have the full might of our military for you to face, to wanting a meeting. This is capitulation, my friends. This is why I showed you 2 nights ago that Colombia was spouting off, Mexico was spouting off, Canada was spouting off, Denmark was spouting off about Greenland, and it looks like we're going to buy Greenland, by the way, which President Trump said, making Greenland part of the U.S., and Q said, when his POTUS said something that did not turn out to be true, and he just doesn't do it. So yeah, my friends, we got a lot going on, and also huge police presence near a church on Redwood Road in Salt Lake City. So this is just happened less than an hour ago. Excuse me. So there's some kind of shooting, possible false flag. We just saw Sky Event tonight on the Q drops as well that we were taken to. So very interesting that we are seeing these things unfold. And President Trump took us to that post tonight on the false flags, right? Let's see. Okay. I just want to take you to the Q drops of tomorrow's Delta, where we have, starting off with 511, DEFCON does not refer to defense or condition with regards to previous posts. Thought clear, now crystal clear. The Great Awakening, important, no private comms, past, present, future, no comms made outside of this platform. What did I just say tonight? No outside comms. Any claims that contradict the above should be considered fake news and disregarded immediately. Where we go one, we go all, patriots. How much time would this have saved you? This post here that I've said many times had T-shirts printed up, no outside comms, no outside comms. Truth belongs with the people. It also takes us to 1, which is the arrest of Hillary Clinton, and number 4, which is Huma Abedin and Podesta. Great Awakening. Future dumps here secured. Interaction. This is about the boards. Confirmed. Thank you, patriots. Please begin migration. We didn't like what we saw. Good solution protected by Code Monkey. This is when they switched over to HN. Excuse me. So, my friends, that's going to do it for today. I want to say thank you to those of you who matched the 250 matching donation that a lovely patriot got to me yesterday because you all matched that 250. So thank you for those who participated in that. And the last two, Linda Prasnick and Carol King. So thank you both. And also much thanks to Helen Overton from Down Under for your incredible donation of 400, which helped us get that 250. Without that, we wouldn't have been at 250 to match. So thank you very, very much, Helen. You're amazing. And thank you to Moto Yoder for putting in $45 towards my what do you call it? My alternator, which I put in myself, and you can see the damage done by these hands going into an engine. But that's what you do, folks. When things are tight, you roll up your sleeves and you get into that engine and you make that happen. So thank you. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you. Good night, Whip and Spur. Good stuff. Thanks for being here. Is California next? Yeah, it's all the states are dropping like dominoes, folks. So this is huge what we're seeing here. It really is. And I hope you're seeing it. I really do, because the reason I say I hope you're seeing it is because I know how frustrating it is to be negative and be depressed and be down about all the things that are happening. Don't look at where we're at now. Look at the trajectory. And folks, where it's going is very, very exciting. I will see you tomorrow night. I will be off Friday, possibly back on Saturday. Going to see about getting the gang back together for the Saturday night. So please join us tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I think it's going to be lit, because President Trump has not yet responded to, Frey and Tampon Tim, and you know that's going to be glorious when he does, right? And I wanted to hold on. Let me just see if he's posted. Yeah, okay. President Trump just posted. So let me pause this real quick. And again, it's going to be when a vehicle is coming at you and is being used as a weapon, deadly force is justified. Nicole Parker says, Fox News. Here we go.
JD Vance on Jesse Waters Primetime. Sounding off on Venezuela, fraud scandals across America, his home being vandalized, and more. The exclusive interview tonight.
Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf, former FBI agent, Fox News contributor Nicole Parker, Fox News contributor Paul Morrow. Nicole, start with you. What I see is very clear. I see somebody not listening to law enforcement, backing up, accelerating right into an ICE agent. What do you see?
What I see is a vehicle being used as a deadly force weapon. And that, in my opinion, based on my training, deadly force is justified. Let me make something very clear. No law enforcement officer, and particularly federal agent, wants to have to deploy and utilize their firearm in the line of duty. When you are doing that, you know that you have no other choice and that you are literally defending your life or the life of others. And it's very important for the viewers to understand that, for instance, the DOJ deadly force policy says that you believe that your life or a life of another person, the subject is posing an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury to yourself, to another officer, or to others. And again, the deadly force policy is very particular. We are trained on it like over and over and over, Sean. That's one of the things that's emblazoned in my mind. That's the one thing, every single operation, you review the deadly force policy prior to executing any sort of operation. We are trained on deadly force legal training. We are trained on firearms training, defensive tactics training, less than lethal force training. We literally would go before a legal panel and we would go through scenarios over and over with fake firearms with lasers on them, and we had to justify what we did, and they would play scenarios out on a film in front of us, and we had to stand in front of that video and act it out as if it was real. So let me make one thing very clear. These agents are very highly trained. It is not your first option to have to use deadly force, but when there is a vehicle coming at you and it is being used as a weapon, deadly force is justified. And they're going to be looking at the totality of the circumstance. It is very easy for a politician to get out there and say, that was wrong, that was not justified. That is inappropriate. It is wrong for them to do that. Let the FBI conduct their investigation, and they will look at the reasonableness of the agent at the time that it occurred. Everything comes down to the perspective of the agent. Did they believe that their life or someone else's life was in danger of death or serious physical injury? And that is what it will be based on. And again, let me make something else very clear. It's all about action versus reaction. And it's very easy for people to criticize. But until you have had a deadly force weapon come barreling at you like a vehicle, or you have had someone fire a gun at you, you are not in the position to make a judgment call on this. And you need to leave it up to the FBI to conduct the full investigation.
Chad Wolf, maybe you can expand on what Nicole's saying in terms of the training. And we've had these other incidents, as Christy No mentioned earlier today, of vehicles used as weapons and ramming into ICE agents.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, threats to ICE agents are up 100%, right? You have rocks and bricks being thrown at them. You have a sniper in Texas who was taking shots at him. So if you're an ICE agent and you go into a sanctuary city, you understand the threats that are against you. You know that local politicians don't want you there. You know that the local police department is not going to support you. And so you have all of this, and then you have an incident like you have today, and you're quickly outnumbered by individuals there in the community. And so you really do have to look at the totality of the circumstances that are surrounding these incidents. And in this case, you clearly have someone who is not adhering to the officer's commands, right, is obstructing, is doing a variety of different things. So it's a very difficult situation that these ICE officers have to go into, particularly when you have a mayor like Mayor Fry and Governor Walz who are just fanning the flames with their rhetoric and really their nonsensical description and words today. None of what they said is true. It doesn't make any sense. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people see that and they believe it. And then they go out and they do what they did today.
Yeah, let's get your take, Paul Morrow.
Well, obviously, the totality of the circumstances applies here. We don't know some of what went on during the entire day. According to the reporting, this person who was the victim of the shooting was apparently harassing and impeding ICE all day. Well, that's a federal crime, and look at it in context. If she has, in fact, been doing that, now she's blocking their forward progress when they're actually trying to leave. You know, it's ironic. They want everybody out. They want ICE and all the feds out of their neighborhoods. Well, here they are trying to leave, and she's blocking them. And in that context, when they tell her, get out of the car, she then backs up and accelerates forward. And social media can parse
towards an agent
as finely as they want. Yeah, towards an agent. And the thing is, you know, you can freeze frame it. You can go forward a frame. Oh, here she seems to turn to the right. The bottom line is that agent had about a quarter of a second to make a decision. And when he made that decision, that car was accelerating towards him. And as far as the leaders in that neighborhood go, in that city, in that state, how many times in the past have any of them done anything to try to dial the rhetoric down? Have any of them ever said just this simple statement, stop attacking ICE? Had they done that, they'd have a lot more credibility now.
Paul Morrow, thank you. Nicole Parker,
Okay, that was awesome. You're getting a legal viewpoint there, my friends. Of course, it's Fox News. They're going to be biased in the direction of the president, obviously, but at the same time, you're having a lawyer talk on the exact specifics. All right, my friends, much love to you. I'll see you tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll have enough to do a wheel spin, but we'll have to really get after it if we're going to do that. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Be well, and much love to you and yours. Good night.